Hello, greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode number 164 of The Other Side of the Ball. Um, you're about to see my face for like 15 minutes, and then it'll be from phone to the car, and then you'll just get the audio version of Dub. But nonetheless, for the meantime, it is myself and Chris Vera until the quarterback decides to join us. Today, we will have head coach of the Insomniacs, Coach James Burgoyne, joining us. We are still hopeful that on a future episode we will get the owner of the Atlanta Inferno and the owner of the Atlanta Division, period, on the show and talk about the ATL's involvement in the A7FL as folks. March 15th will be here closer than you think, which means it's Christmas for Mr. Vera and myself to be back in the booth calling the action out here in Nevada to see what things might transpire in the league, of course. The ultimate question is, can the Trenton BIC do the one thing they have not done, which is go back to back as far as winning championships? Of course, Corey Hammond has said that the Wolfpack knows the Insomniacs may be even more hungrier next season. That all remains to be seen. Obviously, what will Sickwood do? The return of Over the Top. California getting back involved in the A7FL. So, a lot of things leading up to season 12 of the American Sevens Football League.
Well, not to mention who's going to be playing where.
Oh, yes. Not even to mention the rosters as Mr. Hammond walking down the stairs, showing off the nice spiky do.
Why am I the only one that's always on camera with you guys? Both sides. Dub, I understand you. Don't get me wrong. But Corey will be in the back hall of his beautiful home, just with no pictures, and you're like, okay, what's going on? Oh, there goes Dub. See, I'm the only one that will stay on.
Chris, we're told to keep an eye on you.
Oh, okay.
We can't let you.
Question that Mr. Jordan wants to know, aka Cookies and Milk, according to Mr. Hammond, where is Corey Hammond playing in 2026? That's the ultimate
better question is did Jordan, shout outs to Jordan, get permission from the Atlanta Inferno to use their logo as his avatar? And does that mean he's playing there? Which is really the question.
Well, I think he wants to know where you're playing, though, Corey.
Well, I think he's concerned. I think he's concerned because you know how I always play for like the Boston or the Over the Top. He's concerned that I may play for the Atlanta because I think he might be trying to go there if his avatar. Now, I may actually know a Atlanta player. A former teammate of mine actually hit me up and said, "Are you going to be playing? You should come down to Atlanta." I said, "That's almost literally insane to ask." I mean, yes, I did play for Boston, but I'm not, I can make it pretty clear that I'm probably not playing for Atlanta. But shout outs to Eddie Penguin.
Breaking news. Hold on. Wait a minute. Breaking news. He says he can confirm that he is playing for the Atlanta Inferno.
I want to know what Jordan Davidson does for a career because he's jet setting all over. Is he like a pilot? Like is he a spy? Like what job does Jordan Cookies and Milk Davidson have that he could be a player on an Ohio team, the next year be a player on a Vegas team that then is later not on a Vegas team and is now one of the first official confirmed players for Atlanta? Amazing young man. I'd love to hear his story. But anyway,
I would like to know that as well. Because I mean, you're right. It's like 1 minute he's here, 1 minute he's there. Now he's over there. Anyway, he's got to explain that. I don't fully understand it. I don't have a knock against him for doing it. But knowing, okay, well, we've got one player that we do know of that's playing for Atlanta. My question is, what's the rest of the roster look like?
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough thing. And speaking from a guy who was, obviously I was there for the whole Boston thing.
And he says,
Oh,
"Yeah,
he knows Eddie Petio. Yeah, that's cool. Actually, so that's good. So yeah, he's got inside information as well. Yeah, Eddie Petio, my
So
wide
with that
receiver.
said,
Um,
and this goes out to
go
any
ahead.
players out there in the league. If you want to have a revealing of where you're going to play and take your talents to this upcoming season, please feel free to come on the other side of the ball and reveal that to us.
Yeah, especially if you're just going to come on and say I'm staying with my team.
If you're changing teams, that is.
Yes.
Well,
Let's make that. If you're joining a new team and you want to reveal that here on the show, you are more than welcome to do so.
yeah, but don't be like me and say you're going to be on a team like Snow Tribe all off season and then get cut 1 week before the season. That's not a good look.
No, that's not a good look.
No. Yeah. So listen, guys, thanks for having me as always. Hopefully we get a guest. Last week we did have a very, very, very New Jersey show. Not only did it involve Jersey guys, but we New Jersey'd up the production by forcing Chris in a hot seat in real time to figure out tech, which was to be fair, my bad, Chris, that you had to deal with that. That seemed stressful.
No, it wasn't that big of a deal. The thing about it is Derek did say, show prep is essential. The only problem is everything that we showed that it could be played from where we had done the recording, and I could hear it, I could play it. You guys couldn't see it and couldn't hear it, so it wasn't even a matter of like real show prep. So once we figured out, I could just download it to my computer and put it up on the screen and play it. Well, that solved a lot of issues. So next time we know.
It's like when you start a game of Madden or something, and then you get called away from the controller, and you start off the first drive of the game, first and 55 with all the delay of games. We still managed to complete the drive. We got the video in, we got the interview done, we got David Tender on.
Hey, we got the touchdown.
Little bit of a delay of game situation, but we overcame.
Nothing more. Yep.
But my thoughts is that it was, we screwed it up, a New Jersey thing, right? We had on New Jersey guys, and it was all about drama and beef and kind of petty bullshit. It's a very New Jersey show, guys, and I endorse it fully as a New Jersey guy. But I thought, maybe bring it back to the old other side of the ball, the namesake, and hopefully, I don't want to confirm that he's here because I did just talk to him. He said he could, but if he doesn't make it, it is what it is. But hopefully, we get a very prestigious and a very very consistent guest to the other side of the ball, a mystery guest, and hopefully, he'll be able to join us shortly, talk about his team, the top and other
Corey,
things.
let me just help you out with it. He's in the back room waiting, the green room, if you will.
So without further ado.
So with that said, we'll take this quick timeout, and we will reveal that guest to you.
Ooh, suspense.
Dun, dun, dun.
And now we are back, and joining us is the two-time champion head coach of the Las Vegas Insomniacs and recurring guest on this podcast, the one, the only Coach JB, Coach James Burgoyne of the Wolfpack. Coach, as always, we appreciate the time and thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday. Which, by the way, folks, we will be preempted next week because next week is Christmas Eve. So
and the week after, which is New Year's Eve.
And New Year's Eve on the 31st. So the next 2 weeks we will be preempted. So with that said, enjoy the holidays with your loved ones and family. And let us be the first to tell you from all of us here on the other side of the ball, a part of the other side of the ball network. Merry Christmas and indeed Happy New Year. May your 2026 be more fruitful and prosperous than your 2025. But again, Coach JB,
And for our
always...
Patreon subscribers, we will have a Christmas Eve and a New Year's Eve episode for our Patreons. So,
okay.
As always, Coach JB, we appreciate the time. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How about yourself? Can you hear me?
Yep,
well,
we got you.
Yeah, we can hear you. Well, I just celebrated my personal holiday last week, so here I am putting the pen and paper to the next chapter.
Dub's a year older.
I know.
I
You're
am.
like 38.
God bless you. I wish. No, I am utilizing my Dennis Eckersley 43 chapter as
Charlie
Miss Tammy comes in and says
retired
hello.
like early 2000s, right? So Charlie Batch probably about, we'll say, 15 years out the league. Dub, you're looking good for a 15-year-old retired quarterback, I'll say. And Thanksgivings must be treating you better recently. You know, you don't got to play with that, bum ass Detroit team.
Corey
You get to
Hammond
watch.
Well, he was on the Steelers last.
Listen,
one of my favorite things. One of my favorite things about
a Super Bowl ring next to bagging a Big Ben. But go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, that's right. You just keep that on the shelf because you don't want to brag about, it was something that you weren't as much involved. No, all right. Charlie Batch.
We can thank one Luis Ojeda for the whole Charlie Batch reference.
We can thank your parents for creating a person that looks like Charlie Batch. That's what we'll thank. Luis Ojeda was just spitting facts.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And there's the famous Corey Hammond line. Once I see it, I can't unsee it. That was the famous Corey Hammond line at the bar on that particular one evening at one Laughlin, Nevada, if you will, back in 2023.
That would be down at we'll say the name really quick, and if they want to jump in as a sponsor, great. But the Aquarius.
Yeah, right on the water, right? Henderson.
One of Chris's favorite places in Laughlin.
No, yeah, I don't know the area. That was nice. Coach, first of all, welcome to the show. I'll go on camera. Yeah, kind of give you the white glove treatment. How has your off season been? I know we talked right before the show, and you said you kind of have been, not really super hyper focused on A7, which is healthy. But just kind of, fill us in. How you been? It's been a minute.
Good. Just working, getting my last kid through high school, and then me, Scoot, and Zach, we started our own online card business. So we've been doing that mostly, card and memorabilia.
Nice.
You got Pokemon?
We're working on it.
I got a EX full art golden Gardevoir.
You have to talk to Scoot about that. That all sounds Chinese to me.
Yeah. Anyway, it sounds a little Japanese, we'll say. So listen, you decompress. I think that our audience, as well as I think the three of us joining you, Coach, would love to hear your thoughts on last season. But let's just start off with something that's a little bit less, heavy. I mean, you guys are true competitors, and we're, honestly with a great team going for a great achievement. So, I totally understand, decompressing and getting back to it. But next year could be really exciting for you guys. But let's kind of focus more on the kind of the nonsensical off-season stuff, and then maybe we can get to the heavier stuff and talk about the championship game. Because in the news recently, the other side of the ball has done a top 50, in which we discussed a lot of players. But I think an easier topic to start with are the postseason awards. And just as a recap for our audience, MVP, quarterback Terry Codrington, BIC. Offensive Player of the Year, Kason Campbell, wide receiver, BIC. Defensive Player of the Year, a guy you know very well. Batch is 51. Nice. A guy you know very well, Defensive Player of the Year, Shannon Allen, a rookie, and also the best defensive performer of the season last year.
I thought he got Defensive Rookie of the Year, and then Danye got Defensive Player of the Year.
That actually is correct. You're right. I apologize.
Oh, no,
Anyway.
sorry. I just
I was mixing two things. We ranked Shannon Allen as our top defensive player, but anyway.
Correct.
And then returner. So you're on top of it even more than I am, Coach. So you obviously know. So two of your guys are award winners this year. First, I'll ask you what your general thoughts are on kind of the awards. The postseason and those two guys. And then I'd have a question for you. If all things being equal, we ranked Danye Lyons as our number one player last year in the league. No disrespect to the guy because he's awesome, and I think some of it has to do with his lack of availability early on. But I made the argument that as great as he was, and he was still a top 50 player, that he did take a small step back, but somehow still had the reputation and the the just sheer ability to still win the award for best defensive player. What were your thoughts on Danye's season last year, and what did you notice from a season in which he was one of the main reasons you guys won to maybe a reason that he would even maybe say if he played better last year, you guys might have walked out of that Trenton ridiculously short field with some hardware.
Well, I don't think he took a step back at all. I think the defense overall, as good as it was, kind of took a step back in that championship. I mean, our new guys just didn't play up to the level they played all season. I mean, it was a big game, and maybe the lights were a little too big for them. But they came out, played a smart game, adjusted way better than us, and they out adjusted us, and we didn't make the adjustments like we normally do every game, and it cost us. I mean, we were at a disadvantage too with that field. I mean, honestly, I should have just said no to playing that game there. It was a disaster from the get-go when half our team got canceled on the flight on Friday. It was just, I mean, I'm not taking nothing away from BIC. They played a phenomenal game. I mean, even on a regular field, they probably would have, came out on top if we played like we did. But, I mean, we did get the return game taken away from us. Kudos to Kenny Stansbury. I mean, he basically recruited from every team in the United States to play on his team, and they won. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaither, are you hinting something, Mr. Gaither?
Go Gold.
Yeah, James, I've known you for a long time, and I know that you said you're taking some time off and away from A7, but I know football's not far from your mind. I know you well enough to know that. What are your expectations going into 2026?
I mean, win the championship like normal. It does look good that Stealth looks like they're recruiting very well. Sick, I never got to worry about them. They'll recruit. I guess Compton is supposed to be a new team that's going to be coming, but I mean they're California, so we'll probably just beat them anyways. Atlanta is a new team. I don't know if they're traveling to Vegas or we're traveling there. I don't know the whole situation of what the season's going to be like. I did see the schedule. I don't know why we're playing Sickwood at the first game of the week or the season. It seems like we're kind of blowing our load the first week. I've been working on trying to get some sponsorship so I would like to travel back east, and play or have someone travel, maybe go beat up on Ohio a little bit. I don't know. A lot of those things go through my mind. I work on different things on trying to better the team and the league. And unfortunately, in order to get some of the stuff that we want done, money is a factor. And right now the economy is it's kind of rough right now.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess I should have been a little bit more on point when I asked about your expectations. What I really meant was as far as returning players, and are there any, obviously we'd love for you to tell us, but if you keep it to yourself, I completely understand. But are there other recruits that you guys are bringing in for next season?
Honestly, I haven't even started recruiting yet.
Interesting. So you might.
It's too tough to try and recruit. No offense to Jersey. They ain't a whole lot of shit to do out there. So that's what they're doing out here. We got guys that are coaches, so they're coaching their kids, they're coaching their high schools, they're coaching other teams. So it's kind of tough to focus on bringing people in and trying them out. So we just kind of wait to do our stuff at the beginning of the year, and when it's getting closer, so the buzz and the fever gets into the guys and they're ready to play.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think.
Gotcha. So,
go ahead, Chris. My bad.
Are you expecting pretty much everybody back from last season then?
I think Will moved to Atlanta, so he might be playing with Atlanta.
I'm sorry, who moved?
Will.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I just found out the other day. So.
So you might be seeing him down the road a little bit then.
Yeah, he's a fucking monster. He's good.
Yeah.
It's a good player that hurts us that we lose.
Shout outs to Sterry Codrington in the chat, apparently. Listening.
Congratulations, champ, on the MVP.
Yeah, listen, kind of getting back to the awards, that's a good segue. We talked about Donye. Listen, I think Donye is a great player. I don't think that he took a step back in talent. I just think, going from the championship game in 24, where he was a star, not only in the winning play, but all game covering Ashanti Worthy. I think when you went into that game, what was the thought process on the wide receivers for BIC? Because in 2024, Kason Campbell was obviously a threat, but had not put it together. Whether it was the communication with the MVP that we just saw the comment from, or just a certain level of execution from Kason. Clearly, the number one 2024 for BIC was Ashanti Worthy. Last year is a little different, right? Statistically, Kason comes in number one. You guys know who Ashanti is. They also have a guy that you were familiar with in Bagway, and that doesn't even kind of take into account the other guys that can come in and be dangerous. A similar situation like you guys have on your offensive side of the ball. When you were setting up the defense and kind of talking with the guys, obviously they know how to coach themselves and kind of put themselves in position. But what was your thought process in taking on that offense last year in the championship game? And why was my feeling? Now, I may have been wrong, right? I'm watching all of the play happen all at once, and I didn't really necessarily break it down like granularly. But what was your reaction to seeing more guys more open than they ever were the year before? Because the length of the field was huge for the return game, but the width of the field was still the same. And Williams Carswell was able to hawk down Sterry on the one quarterback run. So it wasn't the same thing as the 2024 season, even though the field was a little bit shorter. It looked like the wide receivers were more open, though. What was thought?
You got to give credit to Sterry. He called a great game, and then you forgot one person in that. That was he was a very big X factor there. Is Matt Reddick. That dude was amazing. Our offense didn't play very well. We couldn't run the ball like we normally could. We didn't get as much pressure as we did the first game against Sterry. So Sterry had a little bit more time to set in and, able to make that connection with Kason Campbell. Unfortunately, Donye was doing his job, but some of the other guys were just not in position. And, those guys are fast and good route runners, and it just didn't go our way that game.
Yeah. And not to harp on that game, obviously, we can talk about it. And
that's the only game that counts. So that's the only.
Well, it's the most recent for you guys.
It's also the only one that counts.
Yeah. Well, it's the only game you guys played. Really, you guys had a pretty cakewalk type of season. Animals showed up for about a quarter. Sick with it obviously is a tough out, but you guys make it look easy. let's stay on the awards, and then I'll go to other stuff because that is an interesting thing I want to talk about. We had a Facebook back and forth about the strength of schedule type conversation. But the other guy that won an award, and I think we, is interesting to talk about, especially with his coach who knows him better than we do, Shannon Allen, who I am still is, and so Will was the guy you're talking about, William Carswell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Davidson, I would get on that quickly. That is a player for sure. I think that's who Jordan Davidson was mentioning then, obviously. But anyway, Shannon Allen was a revelation to me in a lot of ways. Now, I think the on the field stuff is awesome. He's obviously a talented player. The Insomniacs are no stranger to talented players. But I thought it was really interesting talking with him after the game. He had a level of humility, like mixed with the same level of confidence that I felt was like the perfect mixture for old guys like me and Chris, right? He was humble enough to know that he needed to keep getting better, but in talking with him, he knew and he had the confidence that he would potentially and is a great player in this league. Tell me, from your perspective, what it was like watching him as a rookie, kind of not only becoming a part of your team, but relatively quickly becoming one of the more important parts of your team, which is maybe even difficult to say as deep as you guys are. Tell us about Prime and what it was like in his rookie of the year on the defensive side season.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like he got the recognition, but we had a lot of new guys that came in, and these are all guys that have been growing up. Stevie Dyson, he's my my partner in this. He's been coaching those guys, Mac 30, Danye, since they were all little kids, and so they're just now growing up to be adults, and they're just coming in and trying to make their names for themselves. I mean, we still got our veterans, that still make plays and still do stuff. I mean, if you look at like Davik and Danye, they're the old veterans, and they're still, I think, under 30. I think
they're under 30. That's dangerous.
Yeah, I think Danya is 25, isn't he?
No, he's not that. I think he's 26, 27 now. I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I don't remember, because I remember when you guys won the first championship.
Yeah.
I was talking to him afterwards, and I asked him about that. I'm like, well, how many more years do you think you're going to play? How old are you? And I wanted to say he told me he was like 23.
I don't. To be honest with you, I'm working graveyards now, so my brain is not processing.
A little scrambled. I get it.
Fair.
But like honestly, there's a real important piece that we had on the D line, Moses. I
was just going to ask about him.
He he was playing with a partially torn ACL in the playoffs.
Oh wow!
And
you wouldn't have known it.
No, you would trust me. I was reluctant letting him play, but he said he had it. We also got Joey. He came on strong late on defense. Yeah. Also, obviously William Carswell. He was a big X factor. We had some guys that stepped up. But like I said, BIC is a very veteran team. They had talent all across the board like we did, but they were able to bring talent from outside of Jersey and able to mesh it with their BIC style. And they had a short field and a bagway that could throw the ball like 10,000 miles. And their offense made the adjustments, their defense made the adjustments, and they won it fair and square. Kudos to them. I don't like saying all that because it tastes like shit coming back up, but I don't like to lose. I'm a sore loser, and even though we've only lost 2 games in 3 seasons, it's fucking it infuriates me that we lost those 2. So hopefully this year we come back a little bit more healthy, a little bit more hungry, and we should have continued last season.
I'm going to ask a question that's probably going to get sideways on us, but I want to ask anyway. So, knowing what you know now with the field that you guys played on last season for the championship, and knowing what we've all have been, you've been on this show plenty of times. We've brought it up. We've talked about it. It's been brought up on other shows. The biggest piece of A7, the biggest piece that everybody loves to watch is the 3-on-1 returns.
Yeah.
When you saw the way that this ball was just sailing out of bounds over and over and over again, what was going through your head?
I mean, our average starting position was at like the 10 or the 15, and then theirs was at the 40 or 50.
Yep.
So, I mean, you can't fault them for that. They took advantage of, not the situation, just, they were able to capitalize on the advantages we weren't able to.
And don't get me wrong, my thought of that is only because I hate to say that we glorify the 3-on-1, but we do. It is a big piece of A7.
I mean, that's your selling point.
Yeah.
You guys call it the most exciting play in football, and, that was only exciting on one end.
Exactly.
So, you saw when, Bagway didn't throw the first throw off, Danye took it to the house. So,
yeah.
I mean, but at the end of the day, we have to make those adjustments. That's what football is making adjustments. And normally we're the best at it. And that game we weren't. So we lost.
Yeah. And I mean, realistically, just like I was contrarian and was reminding the listening audience every time, you guys were praised for beating BIC. It was a close game, and it ended with you guys being the victors, but it was not a drubbing in 2024. I would say the same thing in 2025. I mean, you guys felt like you were in the same position through 3 quarters as you were in the previous year. And we had seen the Insomniacs in championship games in back-to-back succession deal with the onslaught of a team with a running quarterback, with playmakers all over the place, yada, yada. It seemed like it was a repeat of the script. I think that it's not ridiculous to say.
Who got the MVP of that game? Was it Sterry?
I don't know. Does it matter? I guess.
Well,
no,
it does matter for
Matt Riddick. Matt Riddick had 3 interceptions.
Yeah,
and that touchdown catch. Yeah, and the touchdown catch.
He made a big difference on that game, defensively and offensively. That dude
listen,
amazing.
Matt. For those who don't know Matt Riddick's history in this league and his reputation as a flag player nationally, this was a guy that in a season in which he played most of his games off camera, so there is questions about it. He registered like a total of like 70 touchdowns one season in the A7FL. Now he was playing against. It was basically playing in Pennsylvania, so at the time it was like Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So asterisk. But
there's no asterisks, man. If you're good, you're good, dude.
The dude's a baller. The dude's a baller. He knows how to play football. He's got a speed level that's really hard to meet. And the plays that he made in the championship game weren't about speed. They were about understanding and.
It was all savvy. IQ. What he did.
Yeah, exactly.
He baited a couple plays, and we had a guy.
He also got cooked, to be fair, on a couple of plays by Davik. So
Davik's the tough guy to cover. Just like, Riddick and fucking Kason and Ashanti are tough to cover. You know what I mean? So, I mean, people get beat. Not Montana. Sanders used to get cooked by Rice, and Rice was no burner.
Exactly. And then Dion played for the Niners for a little bit. So that was
just that 1 year.
Yeah, right now I'm just joking.
One glorious Super Bowl year.
But my point, what it was going to be that there's an argument to be made. Now, I know you don't make excuses. I know your team doesn't make excuses, but there's an argument to be made that Scooter 100%, RTC 100%. You just clarified Moses 100%, right? So you guys were in a similar situation. If Scott doesn't have a slip disc or whatever's wrong with his back, right? Maybe he could turn over that deep ball that got interception because he was off his back foot. Maybe maybe that, right? But
yeah,
you guys are not. Go ahead.
If we go with the ifs, ands, or buts, then, if Donnie doesn't return that touchdown, BIC wins. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't like to look at it. Because at the end of the day, even with Scott's bad back in that game, Reddick fucking baited him hardcore on one of those interceptions. You know what I mean?
The short one over the middle, I don't think
Yes.
any quarterback avoids that, because that was just an amazing play by a guy who read the play like he was a psychic.
Oh, he played it perfectly. He started going down with the receiver and then just passed him off and just read fucking Scoot's eye. It was a great fucking play, man.
Yeah, that one.
Hate watching
I don't
that
think
stuff.
that has anything to do with the injury, but the deep throws, in my opinion, Scooter fully 100%, maybe something different. But the point wasn't to give you guys like, oh, you should have won. The point is just like I said about BIC. Say what you want about the specifics or the final score or whatever. It's still a representative game from a great team that you guys were still in that game very late in that game, and it could have went your way just like it went your way in years previously. And certain circumstances being different, who knows? But my question to you, not as somebody that is going to tell you that you didn't want to win,
right?
But what I would say is that for the longevity of the dynasty that is hypothetically possible with the Insomniacs, is it or is it not maybe the best thing for you guys moving forward to have faced that situation, knowing that to some of those guys, A7 felt too easy?
No, man. I mean, yeah, during the season, sometimes that's like that. And, PIC was battle tested and stuff like that. It just, that's it. At the end of the day, man, it doesn't matter if you play a shitty schedule or a big schedule. Like, you gotta come up in big games. And, Sterry called a fucking great game on offense, bro. I mean, you can't, he made the adjustments better than our defense did. And, offensively, we didn't play very well, and their defense was, they had great fucking players, bro. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Isaac Negron.
Once they got those,
Matt.
Once they got to those crossing routes, it was tough to cover because
when you can't cover those crossing routes all day with that
and it was
speed.
man coverage. Yeah, it was a great scheme. He executed it perfectly, and the guys made the catches. Yeah. And shout outs to Sterry. I don't think. And to be fair, Sterry, I think it was just an observation. Again, Coach James isn't coming on making excuses. But
no, I mean, for it. We're just it's a question that was asked.
Could have been a different game, yeah. But at the same time, we didn't make those adjustments, so we lost on defense. We didn't lose off the 3-on-1. We lost on defense because he, made adjustments. He was able to get
a big part of the game.
He was able to get Riddick and fucking Kason out in space.
Well, the biggest play of the game in last year's, not this year's, not 2025, but 2024's, the big play of the game was the return for the touchdown. And all I'm saying
but that was just to win the game, bro. I mean, if you think about it, they scored with 17 seconds left.
Exactly. And all I'm saying for the overall is, when we're talking about the 3-on-1, it's because so many people placate it and talk about it as being one of the best plays in the sport.
No, I agree with you.
I'm just
not using it as an excuse of why we lost.
Exactly. Nobody is.
We lost because we fucking lost, and it fucking sucks.
Well, the thing about it is that the returns were taken out of the game, as far as I'm concerned, and then it just became pure football. And me sitting back watching the game, I agree. I think Sterry called a hell of a game.
Honestly, if we're playing on a real field, who knows if fucking Bagway throws it out of the fucking end zone? That motherfucker's arm was crazy.
I know. I mean, he there's a good chance. Well, and we've seen him in regular when we played out at Bullhead. We saw what they like to do. They like to throw it high, so that way they have a chance to get down the field to cover. So I get that, and I think it's a damn good play. And you're right. Maybe on a regular field, Bagway still throws it out of the back of the end zone.
Right.
But it was just an honest question that was an impactful piece of what was going on, because we didn't have what we considered one of the best plays in the sport that we all like to watch and people talk about.
Well, here's my excuses. Well, here's my question, and I'm going to deviate from the championship game, but I'm going to talk about your two young Lions in prime, and Moses Smith. My question for you is, what kind of trajectory and upside do you expect them to take their next step going into 2026 after having a very good 2025?
I don't know. They kind of understand the game now, and Prime, just have to, get, as he gets older, the football IQ gets a little bit better, as he's around, Munchie and Danye and some of the other guys, and got Shadow that was just basically a coach on the field. It just we're gonna do our thing. That's not the issue. It's just a matter of putting it all together, making sure everybody's motivated, and it's hard to get motivated. Where the East gets to play like battle games every week, and no offense to the guys in Vegas, it's tough because but if the Stealth are getting as good as they are, that's good for the league. If Sick with it gets better, that's good for the league. If Compton's good, it's good for the league. It just and if Atlanta ends up traveling, or I don't know what the fuck they're doing because they got one team. But I mean, if Jordan's the quarterback, then you might as well just write them off. I don't know what Ohio's doing, so like, just you just don't know what's going on.
And that's part of the fun of it, is not knowing what's going on.
Well, and you mentioned the motivation, and then you talked about the schedule. I think those are two really interesting things to talk about, because I think like Dub said, moving forward, it is what it is. And what I was kind of more intimating talking about the championship game is you guys were not as far as the score dictated you were in that game. You were clearly either as good or even in some cases superior to the team that you were playing. There was just obviously the things that were going on. But with that being said, moving forward, surely the motivation factor is going to be there, because from what we hear from these guys is that this season upcoming is going to be a revenge tour like the league has maybe never seen. And first let's talk about that.
Right, but I mean, the revenge is what, in the championship or the Final Four? Like, unfortunately, we got to go through the West to go there.
Right. And so let's then touch that, because I will say this: you mentioned it, and it was something that I saw, and I felt like it could be something to talk about. It is what it is at the end of the day. At the end of the day, when you show up on game day, you worry about that game. So again, moving forward, right? Last year, though, your guys were on Instagram or whatever social media asking people to call plays. Like that's how lackadaisical A7FL Sundays were at times for you guys in division early on. I mean, and look, it's not a disrespect to anybody. You guys were just that talented. I made the argument multiple times, and I stand by it, that the Insomniacs, roster-wise, were deeper and more talented this year than even the previous 2 years. Now, look,
I agree with you on that.
Results are results, and it is what it is. How important do you think it is that there is that rivalry, that challenge, that test that you guys have to get through? Because when you guys were scoring 70 and letting and letting Oos play quarterback, and obviously that never happened. I'm just making it up as a joke. But when you guys were going to Instagram for the triple flea flicker, Little Giants Fumblerooski, BIC was fucking barely surviving against a mid-tier team in the Renegades, right? So when you look at it in real time.
But really, were they really struggling? I mean, they struggled against the Renegades because they had, 10, 11 guys show up?
Well, that was week one. I mean, the playoff game, I would say, first of all, Sterry Codrington, and he could even, if he's in the comments still, he could admit to this. Sterry Codrington has always had a rivalry with the Renegades defensive line.
Right.
They've proven that that's a unit, at least, that has, forced him into situations. Now, he played well against them And shout outs to those guys for having a really good team that was really competitive. But I think the point is that you mentioned it, even though I agree with it, and it would be my point before you mentioned it. BIC was battle tested. I think that BIC's roster was worse in 2025 than they were in 2024.
Well,
Now,
during the
add
regular
Riddick and
season.
Bagway, I don't know if that makes sense, but
During the regular season, it was worse. But during the playoffs, it was probably one of the top 2 offense rosters in the league.
Well, absolutely. Well, I mean, they still were in the year before. But my argument would be made is that the loss of a dominant lineman in Dave Valley is a much worse loss than the addition of skill guys that are elite. When, let's be honest, BIC has elite skill guys, so they just had a nice rotation. Now, I could be wrong, right? Matt Riddick made great exceptions. Mark Bagway was the difference in the special teams.
Right, but I mean, you also have Skylar Lash and Dave. I mean, their offensive line was great.
And Carnell Wachter, shout outs to whoever that is. I don't know who Nell Wilson
okay,
is.
Wack, he did good. I mean, he holds really well.
He's great at holding.
But I mean, if they don't call it, they don't call it. Like
he holds every play. That's called you can't call it every play, right?
It's called a veteran move. You know what I'm saying? I'm a notorious holder in flag.
You ain't cheating. You ain't trying.
Exactly. But like, if Dave wasn't at that game in the championship, would that game would have been different? It possibly could have. I mean, I don't like playing the what if games. You know, it is what it is. You know, they won. They deserve it.
Well,
they
and
had
that's
the better team that day.
The conversation isn't the what if for last year. The conversation is what is the value of that battle tested type of situation? What is the value of the iron sharpens iron?
I mean, competitiveness is competitiveness, man. I mean, yeah, iron sharpens iron, but I mean, you know, for the most part, you know, BIC was playing really shorthanded. So, like, once they got fully healthy, I mean, it really didn't really matter how battle tested they were because they had guys that hadn't played all season. They were well rested. Some guys were recovering from injuries. You know what I mean? Like, it just, you know, they came out and still played at a high level, even though they didn't play it, even though they weren't playing iron versus iron. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of your competitiveness. You know, great players make great plays. You know, that's, K-Wack made a great play. Dave Valley was blocking well. You know, Starrington was playing at a high level. Matt Riddick was a great player, made great plays. You know, just like for us, you know, Munchie makes great plays. You know, Danye, Davik. You know, it just doesn't matter if they're battle tested or not. Great players make great plays, and it just, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, who's the better team or player that day.
Well, what is one of the things that you're thinking about as a hypothetical adjustment going into next season that could, you know, maybe just be whatever that small little, you know, advantage that changes the balance that gets your guys on that right side? What would be the adjustments going into next season? Because obviously it wasn't a talent level. And it's not that your guys can't turn it on in big games, but
no, we just have to do a better job at, you know, holding our egos at the door. And, you know, if something's not working, we got to change it. And sometimes keeping it simple is better than, you know, getting too intricate on stuff. And, you know, just go into that game watching what we did wrong and making the adjustments. You know, it's a chess game. You know, Stereo will tell you that dude probably watches film like every day. He's probably still watching film. You know, it's all about getting better. It's all about, you know, finding the cracks and the weaknesses of the teams you're playing. And, you know, when you're playing a good team, you can't make mistakes. You got to limit your mistakes. You know, if you make mistakes, you know, a team like BIC is going to take advantage of them, and, you know, they'll run away with it.
So do you think that with what happened with you guys last season, I know Corey has said it a couple of times, that, you know, this is the revenge tour. I don't necessarily know that I would label something like that. I don't know that you would either.
It's not really a revenge tour. Like, I mean, yeah, we want our get back, But
yeah,
it's not like it was something like taking away from us, like something, last minute or like a bad call. It was just, man, we got beat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the way I look at that with any team, especially with a team like what you have, most of the time you don't need a fire lit under your ass to make things happen. You guys are,
that one time
you see what goes on, but is this a little bit more
Corey
motivation
credit on that second season when we lost to Sick with it? That really put a foot in our ass. I mean, they played a very perfect game and beat us by 6, and that just put it in perspective. Like, we're everyone's Super Bowl. Just like BIC on the East Coast, they're everyone's Super Bowl when they play them. So we're getting the best of every. We're hopefully getting the best when we play people, and then Sick. BIC had to get back because they lost in like the last 17 seconds. So, you could say theirs was a revenge tour. You know what I mean? It just, it's basically not really a tour until you get to the championship with the team that you need to face, unless you get to play them during the season.
100%. But what I'm saying is, you think that with this loss, your guys are like, hey, look, we're coming together, and it's only going to make you guys stronger.
I just don't think we're a team that needs motivation. We just know what needs to be done. And it's a shitty taste in our mouth, and we don't like it. So obviously that motivates us to unfortunately take it out on other teams until we get there. And then like I said, we'll make our adjustments, and we have to be ahead of the game and making adjustments going against better teams. So
now I'm going to ask this question. I already know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Let's say next year you guys make it back to the championship. Obviously.
What do you mean if?
I know. I already. That's why I had to say. I already know the answer, but I have to ask anyway. So I got to place it in this realm. If you guys make it back to the championship next year, who do you want to play against? If you could just write it right now and say, okay, this is who we're playing in the championship, who would that be?
The defending champs, the best team, BIC.
Well, granted, and I fully understand that. What if, and I'm not saying that it isn't, what if BIC isn't the best team next season?
If they're not the best team, it's because, they did it to themselves. No offense to the Animals, and I know they came a little shorthanded, but, they still had, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I just don't know if they have I don't know how good Manny Diaz is, because he couldn't come out to play. But, he's going to be on the 4th or 5th receiver on BIC, I hear.
Looks like it.
But, Dave's a competitor, and obviously he's doing his recruiting. I think we match up a little bit better with the Animals than we do with BIC, because they got those wide receivers could go ham on us at any time. Yep. Don't get me wrong, we play competitive with them, and obviously we beat them in the last play on the one championship, and then they out adjusted us in this last game. But
and this is so true.
I'd rather just, I don't know, keep it consistent. I don't know.
They're in a row, huh?
If we played the U, or if we played the Renegades, I'm sure the Animals, I'm sure it'll be a great game also. I just right now the best team in the league is BIC. They get, they're the defending champions. Those are the ones we want to play. If it happens to be someone else, it's just another stepping stone in us wanting to win the championship.
Of course.
And listen, I think if we ask Coach James about his team, he's going to be the head coach, and I don't know how much more interesting he's going to get. Not that you're not interesting, Coach, but it's kind of like what you're saying. I feel like is the right mindset. Go in there, work, get better, have the right attitude. You guys weren't that far from winning your third, and you've only lost 2 in 3 years. So I think to kind of move on to a topic that we'll get a little bit more from you on, because then you can speak on some of the other players and the other talent, and we could get more your analyst hat on, and you can take your coach's whistle off. We just did the top 50, and look, it was myself, Chris, Dub, and others were going through the list of guys and best we can with the stats we had. But you're a guy that works very closely to game plan and get your teams ready, and then you're obviously standing on the sideline for every one of these games. You see all the Vegas teams. You were already talking about the animals, and you've seen BIC. Let's hear Coach James give us some of his takes on non-insomniacs guys. Who are some of the standouts that, as a coach, you saw on the sideline that you played against or saw on some of the watchbacks on the film? Who are some A7FL guys that impressed you that you didn't know as much about because they weren't your players this season?
That one guy that played wide receiver for you, I liked him. He was on BIC the year before. I can't think of his
For the
name,
Hawks?
but yeah.
Are you talking about Chick?
Yeah, I liked him. He
he's
did.
a good
I
player.
liked what he did. Being on another team. I can't say enough about the guys on BIC. They're all talented. I like Kason. Matt, I'm a big fan of Matt Riddick.
Yep.
The quarterback Anthony Service. I thought he was really really good. Threw the ball, ran very fluidly. I like Dave Tender. He's petty. He's funnier than shit, and he plays at a high level. I can't say enough about the sick with it guys. Palmer. He's underrated. I know you guys talk about him a lot, but the thing about it is, Sickwood or BIC got to play him that one time, and then we play him all the time. So I just don't. The other guys from the East don't get a chance to see him. Siobhan, their new wide receiver, their little go-to guy. He played great. Stone King, he played good as well. For a rookie quarterback, having to follow Jeremy's footsteps and then play against us. He did as well as he could. Coach Lee for the South, I love, how positive and how he gets it, his teams. He's a good recruiter. He just, if he can just put it all together.
Did he feed you guys?
Huh?
Did he feed you guys? He made a bet with Scooter.
No, I don't remember what happened with all that. We'll have to talk about that later. I don't remember what happened. I know things got kind of not weird, just, we just kind of got silent after that loss.
Gotcha. Fair.
I liked what the Gold did. I mean, if you looked at them, they improved tremendously. I mean, if they get some solid people, I'm not saying that they're going to be going out and crushing teams, but I mean, they improved tremendously.
Yep.
I
agree.
You got to take your hats off for that. I'm interested to see Atlanta, and because they got a lot of good talent out there. There used to be a good flag team out there that Will used to play on called Georgia United. So I know they got athletes out there.
Yep.
Compton, obviously, you got athletes out there. I don't know. I'm a big fan of the players, obviously Ohio, there's some guys out there that I know that I talk to that, they just I think they probably could have been better this year if the division was ran a little bit better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just I'm a fan of all the guys. I have nothing but respect for the players because I'm a little too old now. But to go out there and be able to put your body out, and I'm kind of jealous because I think I probably wouldn't have been too bad of a quarterback because I didn't have to have someone snap me the ball. Starts off in your hand.
But it's awesome.
My body, I don't think I could take it. Obviously I'm a big fan of my team. I love all those guys like brothers. I know everybody says that we snatched everybody off from like teams, but that's not true. I mean, all those guys have been friends for years, and we just kind of put it together. But
yeah, listen, you don't have to apologize for putting forth a talented roster,
and
but
then
maybe
when we try to recruit, we try not to take from other teams. You know,
yeah,
hence
those were new
like
guys. Yeah, those were new
Prime,
guys.
Moses. I didn't even know Will played on the Bold, to be honest with you.
I did. He had 2 returns for 2 touchdowns. He made the
Yeah,
top 50 last year, and he had like 2 appearances,
yeah.
and 2 play appearances. But yeah.
Well,
So
Corey,
listen,
before you ask another question, I got a
go ahead.
question for James real quick.
Sure.
James, we you're the one that told me about going back to when we played in Chris's league. I know you let me know about Chris. I don't know if you heard what happened.
What? Parker? Yeah, I know about Parker.
Yeah, he passed away.
Yeah, I'd already known about it. I talked with Brooke and Ryan Melvin.
Okay.
Brooke actually gave me a heads up before it happened. Like he was in the hospital.
Yeah. He. I was hoping that he'd reach out, but I found out afterwards. So I'm gonna try to put something together for him. I'll let you know what's going on with it.
Yeah, you know what? I should have texted you. I didn't even think about it at the time.
Sorry, man. No, at our age, shit happens, and it sucks. But at the same time, I want to make sure that he's remembered.
I played on his team, so it was a little bit harder for me.
Well, running with him with the Heat was a great thing. It was my introduction to the flag league, and I appreciated that from him. And then he ran with me for a couple of years too. So it's one of those things. We're close. We did a lot of stuff outside of football, so it's a tough pill to swallow. But I just didn't know if you knew, and I was sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, well, shit, I can't not ask.
You know what? I know I get a lot of just because I get the title of head coach, but just so you guys know, man, my team runs. The reason why it runs is I got a guy in Jason Brown that handles a lot of my back end stuff. You guys just don't understand like what he means to the team. He takes care of the travel arrangements, the jerseys. He helps out with talking with other guys that may not want to come and talk to me. And then, obviously you guys know Stevie Dyson.
Yep.
He's a big part of it also. I mean, we got a great, structure in our team. And, I know I come on here and I get to talk, but those guys, you just don't understand what they mean to the team also.
Well, I mean, for those of us who weren't or haven't had the privilege of being close to you guys during game day, or in my case, when we went back to Cincinnati and sitting in the house, you see how important those guys are to you and what they bring to the team. And I would agree with you 1,000%. I mean, I did not realize how important both those guys are, not just to you, but also to the players, and the respect that's given to basically all of you guys that are coaching. You guys have done it right, done it the right way for sure.
Yeah, we're lucky, man. We got a lot of good players on our team. I'm sorry, Corey.
And as somebody that's listen, the Insomniacs. I think the reason I always say the Phil Jackson thing with you is the Insomniacs know how to coach themselves. There's literally, I think, 11 coaches probably on the roster, maybe less, maybe more. They're talented enough. They know what plays to call. They kind of handle themselves. But having that structure and having the respect of the guys kind of like above the player level, it means a lot in a league like this, because especially you guys face situations more than a lot of teams, especially a lot of teams as good as you guys. Is when times get rough, times get tough, you still as a group seem like you're together. You're able to communicate. You're able to work through the issues, and that's why you've able to be one of the masters of adjustments. And I think that's a credit to all the guys you mentioned as well as yourself. And I know you're humble. I'll give you the credit. But to kind of frame it in some of the other conversations that we've been having, what are some things now? don't give away too much game. We don't want you to like teach the listeners to overcome how good you are at this. But what are some ways that other teams in Vegas could work towards getting better? And you mentioned the gold, because there's a lot of ways to do it. Like the gold are doing it in an incremental way. Mark Gray and Sick With It is doing it in a recruiting way. The stealth seem to be more that Mark Gray. What would be your feedback to the rest of the division that's going to have to deal with your team next year, taking out their frustration on them? What's a way that they can build their rosters, their teams, to become that more competitive roadblock on your guys' route to an inevitable division championship? Hypothetically.
I mean, it just all starts in believing in the people that start it. The guys know they can count on me and then count on Jason to make sure they don't have to worry about getting shit done. Getting it together. Like we had a few little snafus in our first season. They know they can count on me and Steve and Jason having their backs. With the league, teams just got to set a better foundation. And then one thing you got to take out of the equation is ego. Give you an example. Munchie. I mean, he plays every position. You know what I mean? He goes in and he does the dirty work, on the blocking and stuff like that. I mean, how many guys that can run routes the way he does wants to get in block?
Very few.
I mean, there's some elite guys in the NFL that probably can do it, but they also make millions of dollars. So
yeah, but I'm just saying in general in this league,
Oh, I agree. I mean, listen,
there's a lot of me guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, I could play this position. You should put me at this position. You should put me on this position. And when people want to come over, and I got to break it down for them. I got to tell them, like, look, bro, this isn't. If you're looking to be the big fish in a small pond, this isn't it. If you're looking to be on a team that's going to win every season, and you show up when it's your number's called, and you show up and you make a name for yourself, you'll play. That's not the problem. It's the people that don't want to prove themselves, and just because they go and beat up on a guy with some jean shorts and flag football on a post route, they think that they can just come in and just start right away, and it's just not like that. It's just you got to have a great foundation. You got to have someone to believe in you, and you're almost like a car salesman. You got to sell the dream. You got to say, hey, look, man, this is the way it's going to run. If you want to do it like this is how we want to do it.
And get offensive linemen probably too.
That's my philosophy. You can ask Chris since the days in flag. I've never had the best DBs, but all my teams are built from inside out. So
Big
offense
time.
and defensive line.
Well, never having the best DBs might be wrong currently.
Well, I mean,
well, that's now. But what he's talking about is
listen. I understand the sentiment, and as a quarterback,
but the thing about it with James is, as long as I've known him, which is what, James, 30 years now,
something like that.
So for as long as I've known him, and
keep
as
bringing
long
my
as
age.
your age, we're the same age. As long as I've known him, and as long as I played football against him, his teams have always been built very well from the inside out, and you would never know the inconsistencies at corner he had put up with in those days playing with the defensive line he had, because the defensive line was so damn good.
Yeah, and listen, this kind of ties into a recent show we had, and kind of, I guess, the theme behind it, right? The last week we had a situation where, listen, the animals are no small pond, but we had a big fish, Manny Diaz, the number 3 wide receiver. By statistics, he was one of the best guys in the league. I think we had him ranked 11 of the top 50.
Statistically, he was killing it for the animals.
What'd you say?
Statistically, he was killing it for the animals.
I mean, he was, yeah. and he's a really good receiver. I don't think anybody would deny that. But you, to me, and correct me wherever I'm wrong, but you to me fall in line with Chris and I. You're the old school, right? You're also a quarterback, and we're all offensive, even though we are also play offense. We're offensive as well. But you're kind of more of that old school mold. I call it the pre LeBron decision type of mold. So listen, I am not asking you, and I don't think it's incumbent on the teams with talent to self-police. But what is your overall thought on the specifics? You kind of mentioned it before. The specifics of the decision, like a man AD is going to BIC, but more the general consensus of what seems like a lot of guys in football, whether it's flag, whether it's semi-pro, whether it's A7, kind of more or less, there's a lot of guys that want to join as opposed to oppose. What's your thought on the Manny Diaz thing, and what's your general consensus on either beat the best or join them?
Honestly, I don't think that situation had to do with him joining the best to be, you know what I mean? I think that was more an internalized thing with that team. And obviously he knows KWAC very well. So obviously when you want to play with people you know. So I don't think it was if you can't beat them, join them type thing on his decision, to be honest with you. I think it had more to do with
going and running with his boys.
No, not even that. Just I think he would stayed with the animals. But just from what I hear, is just internal conflict between him and some people, and obviously he knows KWAC, so he'd obviously play with someone he knows. I think it was more of a teammate thing than I want to join the best team.
So yeah, I actually think I agree with that. Now, I don't love the move football wise, but I understand that there's more to the A7FL roster decisions than just like, hey, what makes sense on a sheet of paper where there's a roster.
Right.
But in the general terms, then top player from a team joins up, takes a lesser role. What's your just general thought of that move that's becoming more and more common, not only in the A7, but in kind of all of the semi-professional forms of football that our guys are involved in?
At the end of the day, it's about winning. Doesn't matter how you do it, just you want to win. Do we have some guys that kind of celebrate a lot more than the guys that actually did most of the heavy lifting? But we have guys that we told them how it was going to be, and they stepped up when we had injuries or people missing, and I don't think that we'd be as successful without those players as without them than we were with them. That's why we try not to take from other teams. We try to, look outside of the league, but sometimes it just a fit is a fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, listen. If you look at the Insomniacs roster, other than the kind of kryptonite pit bosses team up that kind of was the genesis of it, you guys really haven't poached, one might say, right? Is the term? I think Denzel was on a different team.
No, he was a rookie.
No.
He was a rookie with the
Insomniacs. He joined in the fall for just the fall Insomniacs. That's right. Yeah. So listen, like I said, I don't think that you guys fall into that category, but it is a move that you see, right? It's not just Manny Diaz. It's I think now to kind of put it into perspective, because I obviously align with hey, I'd rather go out there as the starter and throw 57 attempts on a shitty team than be a backup. But I guess that's my old ass, which is not representative. But then you have the other side of it, which was always what Rob would say, and that like really good football players know the culture and what it takes to actually be a winning team. And sometimes guys that are really talented, they go to teams where they would be the number one guy, and they realize like, yeah, this is cool. It might be better for me, but this just isn't a conducive environment to win. And I do understand the, hey, I'd rather be with a team that knows what they're doing, has a plan, has a structure, all that. But then it comes to this: it's the what we're seeing at times in some of these divisions is the grouping of talent, all together, and then there's a big discrepancy from, I don't know, for instance, let's say where Insomniacs and Sickwooded are now to wherever number 3 is in the Vegas division as of the end of 2025. Now you're saying Stealth on the move, looking to make moves, and I appreciate that, but what about the balance of power in reference to those kind of, my dumbass would say, super team moves? And again, I'm not saying the Insomniacs are doing it.
Well,
I'm saying that the Baltimore teams and BIC is doing it.
The thing that we did was, and I know it seems like a super team move. It's just the problem is I'm friends with Steve, who had the Ball Hawks, and I'm friends with Scoot, who had TMT. So they just happen to be, they happen just. They've all played on each other's teams before, for either on the Ball Hawks or TMNT in like one division or another. So we decided to put all this together. And the one thing from the pit bosses was, I don't know why we went after Tone Smith and Trey, and he brought over Carter and AJ, and AJ was a great fit for us. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so was Carter. But Tone and Trey, not so much. You know what I mean? They want to be the man, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they're like you, and I don't mean like they need to be that superstar. Just they want to be, they want to make sure that they're a part of the winning, and they were, you know what I mean, a part of our winning. They did, contribute, and our whole team contributed that first season. I would say that first season was really a team effort on all of our parts. And then after that, Tone and them wanted to start their own team, which is, man, that's better for the league. You know what I mean? We didn't try to take anybody from anywhere else. We just try not to lose anybody.
Right.
So, like right now, I know I said I'm not into the recruiting, but that's a lie. I'm always recruiting. But I look at different players who will fit the mold of what we look for on the team. That will fit the personality wise. Because I really don't care how talented you are. If you're not going to be able to mesh with the other personalities, it's just having a bad sideline is just not good.
No. And the funny thing is, when you guys first came in and there's some, talk on the sidelines, I know that there was a lot of people that thought, oh, they're arguing. Well, no, that first year that you guys came in, I was walking the sidelines and I'm like, they're not arguing. I don't know where you guys are getting that from. They're having conversations.
Well, I mean,
they're putting things back together.
It was with people that are no longer on the team. So,
well, I mean, even when you guys, it wasn't like it was arguments. You guys were just talking loud for what was upcoming. That's all I ever saw.
Yeah, it's just testosterone, egos.
Yeah,
nobody wants to lose.
Well, for me, I always go back to 2024, and I'm right there on the sideline. And even when Sterry goes down the sideline to put BIC up by 5, I think it was, or whatnot. But just the fact is, there was no panic. And like I said, Scooter was literally talking to this guy and said, okay, if Danye can at least get us here, we'll score on these 3 plays right here. And then, of course, Danye does what he does. But, I mean, I even go back to 2023 when we were all on the sideline and they were down 12. And again, there was just no panic.
No.
I've really never have seen panic from these pack of wolves, which is very hard for me to go against because, again, it's like whatever phase or situation of the game just occurs during the game, they just don't seem to tense up, and they don't get the deer in the headlights look like some other teams have done in the past. But I will ask this question. Now, obviously, trying to replace a William Coswell, you just can't. So, in trying to plug in a piece, something similar to his talents, what's the one thing you look for, Coach, when trying to add that one piece to possibly help contribute to the team upcoming in 26?
I like to see how they how they can fit. I have to give the the speeches. We really want you, but the thing about it is, can you take a back seat? Are you not being able to play every game, or not every game, but every play? I mean, if you're looking to be a highlight, like, let me give you an example. I know Denzel, he's a big talker on these podcasts, and he plays wide receiver and stuff like that. But you know what he did? He embraced his role after that championship game, as one of the 3-on-1 guys. Mac 30, just give you an example. He embraced himself on being, a 3-on-1 guy. We just have some guys that take pride in, helping the team any way they can. And when you have that, it starts with that, and it becomes a winning culture. And if you have guys that are willing to put the team above everything else, and then have step up when you're ready to step up, there's not a lot of teams that can beat you.
No, and I'd agree with that. I mean, you need role players as well as, I guess you could say, stars. But with the Insomniacs, what I see is a bunch of stars that are role players.
And then, I mean, if you look at our even the guys that are on as the backup roles, yeah, they can start on other teams and stuff like that. Yeah. But the thing about it is, I mean, a lot of those guys are in their 40s, late 30s, 40s, and then they don't want to play a replay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, they want to be able to get out there, do what they're doing, play for a team that they obviously have a connection with, and are out there making plays. But like you said, you don't need to be out there playing every single down of every single game, knowing what could come with injury.
Right.
But I think the more impressive thing is, and Chris and I have talked about this on previous broadcasts during games, of just how their depth is ridiculous. Because, okay, for example, we've seen their quote-unquote B team or C team, and they still go out there and put up 40-plus points and don't miss a beat, as if the A team or the cream of the crop was out there playing. Which, again, credit to you guys on your staff, because, like I said, you guys have staff everywhere. You just talked about Dyson and Coach Brown, not to mention you also have Tommy out there, also on the sidelines. But I'm just saying, okay, we might not have our our cream of the crop, but we still have guys that are just as effective, and that has been shown multiple times with you guys in the field, be it during the spring, be it during the fall. But again, that's just a kudos to you guys for just implementing a plan and sticking with it.
Yeah, I mean, we try to. Sometimes the plan goes left
when your guys are going right.
Yeah, I mean,
but you know what? And that's what makes you a good team, is those adjustments that you guys are able to do when the plan is going right, and all of a sudden it makes a hard left turn. Obviously, the only one that I haven't seen you guys been able to make the right adjustments, and you've even said it earlier in the cast that BIC made the better adjustments in that game. And I think that, overall, if I had to say who makes the best adjustments game in and game out, I would say the Insomniacs do.
Yeah, we try.
Well, and talking about adjustments, because it may not apply directly to you guys, but one of the adjustments Chris and I have been talking about, another kind of current topic on the pod, that the league had made, league wide, right? This is not just an individual team thing. Teams have kind of made the shift from, we'll say, what you guys are built to do, which is play, like, I would say mid 90s football, right? Offensive line, running game, play action, control the ball, play great defense type stuff, right? The stuff that when we were growing up, our coaches were hammering into our heads. We saw a shift from that style 100%, completely, almost like a 180, to the spread, quarterbacks the main pass and run threat. Empty three wide sets in the 7-on-7 were the most common uh, offensive sets that we've seen. And there was a devaluation of the power run game last year. As far as you guys look at, where the league is going and how the league is evolving, we've already seen some of the evolution with some of the personnel that you guys do. Like Moses Smith is the perfect defensive end for A7. I've been talking about it. Dubs, that's Dubs' guy. You mentioned him earlier. But as far as schematically, what are some of the adjustments, if any, that you look and see that you guys could make when the rest of the league is kind of going towards that, we'll call it the full spread offense, when you guys are still um, a 50-50 uh, ball control, play action type offense that has obviously been successful, but the league around you seems to be making a shift. What's your
Well,
thought on those adjustments?
it's all about matchups. It all depends. Like, give you an example. We didn't have to run the ball in the game against the Animals. Everybody could be open every play. So we threw a lot that game,
I mean, Scooter did set a record, so that does factually check out.
It's just a matter of the matchups. It all depends. If the running game is there, we're going to pound that rock. If they can't cover, if we go three wide receivers and they can only cover one guy and two other guys are running free, we're going to take advantage of that. It sucks because we have so much talent. Because, obviously the running backs want to run the ball, and obviously the receivers want to get the ball. It's just there's so much that we can do. You know what I mean?
True.
There's only so much time in a game that we can, if we could get everybody the ball, it'd be great. It's just, and I think that's what's different about our team is our guys know if the running game ain't working or, passing is just, it's so easy to pass right now. Let's just pass. And then, we'll run the ball when we, get up some and try and run out the clock. I don't know. I'm old school. I'm pound the rock and play good defense. And, I like to pass the ball. But at the same time, it's all about matchups. If we get a good matchup passing, we're going to pass. If we get a good matchup running, we're going to run.
Makes sense. Well, on that note, because we brought up, and I'll let Dub take it from here because I know he's got to go. But what were you going to say, Dub?
I was just saying 2 minutes, final thoughts. That's all.
Okay. This is usually where we get our final thoughts in. James, I'm going to let you go first since you're our guest.
It's been a long off season. It's actually been very restful. Look forward to being mad at Corey during the season and yelling at you guys up in the booth.
I look forward to giving you opportunities to.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know. I think it's funny.
I just hope there's no major injuries when we play. Hope we get some more talent in the Vegas division. I hope, Compton comes out and shows us something different. I expect to play BIC in the championship, and it's no disrespect to the teams that we're playing out here. It's just, I could probably be on the gold and still think that, even though we're getting our ass whooped. Nobody wants to go in and expect to lose. So I always go in and expect to win.
Hear you there. Corey?
I think my final thought would first be to thank Coach for coming on and giving us that Vegas perspective that we were lacking last week with all the whining and complaining and switching teams and drama. No, just shout outs to our guests from last week. That was also very interesting to hear the perspectives from them as well. My question really is this, because it's such a tall task to ask the young men that have nothing to prove, right? I don't think anybody on your team has anything left to prove. The reason my old ass keeps playing is because I'm not good enough to not have stuff to prove. So I'm still trying to like schlep my old ass body out there to prove whatever.
I just think you also enjoy it.
That's true. Yeah. I like to be self-deprecating, because if I'm going to throw shade at other people, I deserve more probably than those people I'm throwing shade at. So anyway, it's not about me. It's about you, right? And it's about your team, because the thing that we saw in the championship game that I
the
think,
only one that you ask him for his final thoughts asks one more question.
Yeah. What are you talking about? It's not an excuse, and you guys weren't looking for excuses. You're not shooting for bail, but health for your team, with all the extra games that you guys played, with all the extra travel, with all the extra hits and the toughness, right? It accumulated last year, and I think rightfully so. You guys are taking a break. Is there an expectation that you guys come back 100% fully staffed, or are you concerned that there is a hypothetical chance that a major player that was experiencing injury last year might or might not be able to kind of just make the decision to put their body on the line one more time in this league?
And James, before you answer that, let's get Dub for his final thoughts, because he's at work.
Bad,
so, Dub, go ahead with your final thought.
Thank you for watching. Good night.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. I know you're at work. Have a good night.
I'll do my best.
All right, man. So, I guess, Coach, if you want to answer that real quick, and then I'll give my final thoughts, and we'll get everybody out of here.
I mean, I'm hoping we return everybody. You know what I mean? If someone wants to experience something different, that's on them. Or if someone doesn't want to do it anymore because of injury, I hope, I want them to be better, so, obviously I'll be more than happy that they are hanging it up for, so they can get better. But we really haven't.
Just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
Your expectation without hearing any new information is that we should expect the Insomniacs we know and either love or hate, depending on if you have to play them or you just get to watch them. You're expecting everybody back?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
I mean, you don't know. I mean,
no. And look, I'm not going to gotcha with this later on. There's only so much that you can know happening in other guys, heads about what they're thinking. But that would be the only thing that I was a little bit concerned about, because you guys as an organization and a team are very integral to the success of not only your division but the league. And I'd love to see that revenge tour that I keep promoting, even though it's probably just business as usual.
Right.
So that's my final thought, Chris.
All right. Well, long final thought. My final thought, James. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. Appreciate it greatly. I'm going to text you because I would like to know when we could get together and talk. So I'll text you outside of this. But
yeah, no problem.
My final thought for this whole thing is pretty simple. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Everybody take care of one another. And from A7FL and from the other side of the ball, we will see you guys next year.
Good night. And remember, keep it manly.
Hey guys, be safe. Have a good Christmas.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.